Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so for today's video, I wanted to review a recent 5-star read for me. And I wasn't going to do a review on this, but I feel like a lot of people trash this book without even going in and trying it, so hence why I am doing a review. Alright, so that book is Credence by Penelope Douglas. And I will start by saying that I was one of the people that was very, very skeptical to pick this book up. Penelope Douglas is my absolute favorite author, and even with that, I was still very, very skeptical of picking this up because the only thing I knew going into it was that it was not a reverse harem, but kind of in the sense that she is hooking up with 3 dudes at the same time, but she is going to pick one of them at the end. Now, up until I read this, I had actually never read a book like this. I'm not into love triangles or anything like that. I just want one love interest, and so that whole thing, I think that was part of the big reason that I didn't pick this up. The whole step-uncle, step-cousin thing, that did not bother me. It was the multiple love interest thing. Okay, so before I dive deep into this book, I'm going to give a non-spoiler review, and then at the end, I'm going to give a spoiler review because I have some thoughts with this book where I think some people missed a little bit in the text, and maybe that's why they didn't like it. But yeah, I will have a spoiler and non-spoiler review. I will mark the timestamp right there of when the spoiler review will start. Okay, so right away, starting us off, this book is a multi-POV. You're going to follow the points of view of the female main character, whose name is Tiernan, and the 3 men, Jake, Noah, and Caleb. So starting us off at the beginning of the story, Tiernan's parents have just died. They actually ended up killing themselves with overdose because they were so in love with each other that they just couldn't bear to not be together anymore. I guess Tiernan's father had cancer. Her mother just could not live without him, so they died together, overdosing on pills in their bed. It was, yeah, I mean, you have a daughter left, but I guess that's the way to go. And the reason her parents killing themselves because they were so in love with each other, that's so important to the story and why Tiernan makes some of the decisions she makes, because her entire life her parents have loved each other more than they have ever loved her. So this girl has some serious, like, abandonment issues. Okay, so right off the bat, her parents have killed themselves. She is trying to figure out what she's going to do. She is 17, starting her senior year of high school. I believe she is about a month or 2 away from turning 18 when the book starts. So anyways, she gets a call from her father's stepbrother. Now, she has never met this man. This is Jake. And Jake calls her and says, hey, apparently your parents left your care to me in their will. And since you're almost 18, I'm going to give you the option of if you want to come and stay with me and my 2 sons or not. So Jake and his 2 sons, they live in Colorado in a small town, and I think 6 months out of the year, they get snowed into their house. So the other 6 months of the year, they have to prep, go into town, basically get everything that they will need for those 6 months that they are stuck isolating together. So right off the bat, you're going to have forced proximity in this book, which is another one of my favorite tropes. So Tiernan arrives. She meets Jake first. Jake is the one that picks her up at the airport. Jake is kind of a little bit of a grouch. He's got a little bit of an attitude. You know, he tells Tiernan she needs to do her work and her share and help make breakfast. She has a little bit of an attitude about that. But, you know, Jake is the first one she gets close to. And then Jake has 2 sons, Noah and Caleb. And Noah is a motocross racer and very, very sweet. And Caleb has some things going on with him that I'm going to mention in the spoiler review, so stick around for that, but that's just what makes him way more interesting. So this book is a dark romance. I will say that, you know, obviously this is not like hearts and daisies and sunshine, and I mean, there are very mature themes in here. If you are under 18, do not pick up this book. I'll just say that. Do not read this book if you are under 18. And I really do need to emphasize, if the reason you have not picked this up yet is because of the whole step-uncle, step-cousin things, I need to really emphasize once again, she has never met these three men. This was her father's younger stepbrother, and they hated each other. Like, they hated each other so much to the point where when they got to be adults and made their own families, they just never talked to each other again and never saw each other again. So Tiernan never met this man. She never grew up with these cousins or whatever. It's just, yeah. And I think that's the important thing to remember going into this. This is purely fiction. And I think when you can remember that and look past everything else, it's a good time. And for me, that's what reading is supposed to be, is it's supposed to be a good, fun time. Now, this book does wrap up really well. I personally thought they did a really good job of directing you with who she was falling in love with and who she was going to end up with. I know some people didn't. They thought it came out of left field, but if you were really paying attention to the breadcrumbs sprinkled in the book, you could see it. And yeah, it just, yeah. And obviously, with her being isolated with these three guys, there is a lot of jealousy and possessiveness. And it's a lot in the beginning of the book, before they're snowed in, because they're in this small town, and there's a bunch of guys, and she's like the fresh meat, and they're like, ooh, who's this hot chick? And Noah and Caleb are like, no, don't talk to them, and there's just a lot of jealousy that comes out, and it's very good. And then also, like I said, back to her picking who she was going to end up with, I felt like it was obvious because throughout the story of the three guys that she had been with, one of them was a little bit more angry and jealous than the other two. So you could kind of see that coming. Okay, so those are all of my non-spoiler thoughts. So click away if you've not read the book and you don't want to hear any spoiler thoughts. But now I'm going to get into my spoiler review. Okay, so the first thing I want to touch on is who Tiernan picks. A lot of people did not like who she picked. I personally absolutely loved who she picked. Who she picked was who I wanted since he was introduced, and that was Caleb. So Caleb's thing about him that made him different was that he was a selective mute, meaning that he chose not to speak at all. He had something traumatic happen to him when he was about 4 years old, and ever since that incident, he just did not speak. So to me, I guess the best way I would describe it is it kind of felt like Archer's voice, but darker to me. Like it was if Archer Hale was like a dark romance alpha douche kind of guy. That's how it felt to me. But anyway, the reason that you could tell, like, that was the one that she was falling for more was because, like, there were several scenes in the book very descriptive of the two of them making, like, this deep eye contact with each other. And, obviously, spoiler alert, because this is the spoiler section of the review. When she is having a threesome with him and Noah, she is like, I fucking Caleb the entire time. Like, they go upstairs to get started, and she and Caleb are just, like, locking eyes with each other. And it's even mentioned in the thing that, like, Noah just kind of sneaks in the room past them because they just cannot stop looking into each other's eyes longingly. Okay, and then one other important thing I wanted to touch on. I noticed when I looked at Goodreads reviews, some people saw this, some people did not touch on this, but I wanted to make a point of it because I thought it was important. And that is in the book, Tiernan mentions that one lesson her mother taught her was an intimacy love lesson, and it's a rule of 3. And her mother basically taught her that you need to be intimate with 3 men before you settle down. And the first guy that you're intimate with is all about lust. And the second guy you are intimate with is all about learning, because you've already had sex with another guy, so you get to be a little bit selfish and learn more about, like, what you like and stuff like that. And then the third and final is love. And when Tiernan was explaining this lesson, it clicked in my head, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's going to happen in this story. one of these lessons is going to match one of the three guys. And that's what it was. So the guy that she had sex with first was the one that took her virginity. That was the lust. And then there was the learn. And then the final was love. And obviously Caleb was the love one. And I thought that was probably my favorite part of the book, was that underlining message. Alright, so that is going to do it for my spoiler and spoiler-free review of Credence. I rated this a 5 out of 5. Like I said, if you can remember that this is purely fiction and you like dark romance, try it out because it is a fun, good time. And like I said, that's what reading should be for all of us, right? Is a fun, good journey. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!